Edwards is out, and in comes Cole Whitney for Georgia Southern. And Holden, you and I were talking, let's be transparent for the folks at home, before this game started about when bringing in Cole Whitney would tell us about what Rodney Hennon thinks about today's doubleheader. If you bring in Cole Whitney, that means he thinks he has a chance to really win this game.
And right now, I know Georgia Southern has left, and we've talked about how they've not been able to capitalize on their opportunities, but they are still got a lot of runners left on base. They have still gotten to this Georgia pitching staff today. So I think I'm with Coach Hinton right now. Bringing Cole Whitney, your best guy, out of the bullpen, and really have him keep this Georgia team at bay and allow your team to try and make a late inning push here. I think it's a good choice. Whitney's been the go-to guy. This transfer from St. John's came over last year, was just lights out of the bullpen, and keeping that going so far through 3 1/3 innings this season. All of his outings coming against West Virginia. 3 1/3, only 2 hits, and recorded the save, and when Georgia Southern took Game 3 of that series this past weekend.
And what is coming out of the bullpen to face? 2-out situation, 2 men aboard. And that first pitch is a ball to the true freshman out of Brunswick, Randon Jernigan. RBI single back in the second inning. That was his 3rd hit of the year in 3 games. And he can really make a name for himself here with a good pitch. He's ahead of Whitney 2-0. Or for the Bulldog fans who don't know Cole Whitney here, Holden, tell us about him. What kind of pitcher is he?
Well, he's a very aggressive pitcher. He's going to take it to the batter, fastball, changeup, nice slider too. Mixes up his pitches really well. Another good location guy, good bit velocity. Hit 90, a little bit lower 90s. But usually you see Whitney in big time situations, in situations like this where Georgia Southern's either up or, like you said, where Coach Hinton thinks he has a chance to win a game, and even though the Georgia Southern might be down, he's going to bring Whitney in to, keep the score low, keep the Georgia at 3 runs right now.
I think him bringing Cole in out of the bullpen now means that he thinks he can get him out of this inning.
Absolutely.
And the Eagles are confident that they might be able to get to Christophak next inning.
Yeah, and they like their chances. Like I said, they're still getting runners on. They just got to put a couple more better swings here and there. And
that was nearly a walk. Go ahead.
They said they got to think that if they, go back to that inning, one swing from Connor Davis, and that might one's better swing and putting one in the gap, and this game could be tied. So it's very still within the grasp here for the Eagles.
Full count, 2 outs here for Cole Whitney out of the bullpen. If he walks him, that's going to load the bases. And he does. Good eye from Jernigan. Ducks on the pond for the bottom of the order in C.J. Smith. And Cole Whitney is either going to let Georgia break this game open or give Georgia Southern fans a sigh of relief.
He's got a good opportunity to get out of it here, though, with C.J. Smith 0 for 2 on the day.
And he was waiting for that first pitch fastball, but he was behind it. Whitney fired that one at about 90 miles an hour, and it's in for a strike. St. John's transfer on the mound, working fast. Got him on the check swing, and it's 0-2. Don't forget, Georgia Southern stranded the bases loaded in the top and the bottom of the 5th. Can they do it to the Bulldogs in the top of the 6th? Yes, sir. Cole Whitney gets out of the inning and strikes out C.J. Smith with the bases loaded. Stays 3-1 on to the bottom of the 6th after this on ESPN Plus. It's getting not happy-looking Georgia Southern fan. Whole family, actually, and Holden, I can see why the Eagle fans don't look so happy, including the baby. Eagles have stranded 9 in 6 innings.
And it's a lot of the same story from yesterday for these Eagle faithful. Opportunities now 1st and 3rd in that inning, not able to convert. Most notably, bottom of the 5th with the bases loaded, and even at one point with runners on 1st and 2nd with no outs, not able to convert, and that's got to be frustrating.
So Cole Whitney back out of the mound for a 2nd inning of relief. No question, Georgia Southern's best guy out of the bullpen. And you got to wonder, as the Bulldogs send the top of the order back here, starting off with Cam Shepard, is Rodney Henning going to feel like they wasted Cole Whitney today if they bring him in and they still end up losing 3-1 because they couldn't bring in any runs?
Well, I don't think it's going to be wasted. I think it's all part of a plan that he, like you said, kind of had coming into this game, having Cole Whitney as a ace of spades almost in his back pocket, trying to keep Georgia at bay. You know, it's just be the Georgia Southern lineup that didn't do their part to, make the equation balanced.
All right, so Cam Shepard at the plate here, 1 for 3. Riley King and then Aaron Shunk also due up later this inning, but combined, those next two guys are 0 for 6. That's a ball and a strike. So if you're Rodney Hennon, Eagles head coach, do you want Whitney to go the rest of the way?
Well, we'll see. I do think that, maybe if Georgia puts up a run or two, you might just save him and maybe use him for the second game of the doubleheader. But if you still want to hold to your plan, because you still got, potentially 3 more innings to bat, and if he's dominating and, keeping these Georgia at bay and not running up his pitch count, I would expect to see him go as long as he can to try and, allow Georgia Southern to come back in this.
Counts 2-2, and I think you're right. I would expect it to be all about pitch count.
Yeah.
Still at under 15 right now. Pretty efficient first inning of work. Although all the foul balls that the Georgia lineup has been firing off the last couple of innings are not going to help.
Yeah, you're going to have to be able to put these batters out quickly, which is the strength of Georgia of preventing.
And Whitney got him to go around. Down he goes. That's the efficiency we're talking about as Shepard goes down on strikes. Now up, though, to the best hitter on this Georgia team so far this year. Right fielder Riley King. Entering this game hitting almost 450 on the season, but 0 for 3 today. And Whitney goes right after him inside for a ball. That one crushed out into center. Tressler on the run, plenty of space, 2 outs. And there's a potential here now as Aaron Shunk comes to the plate that Whitney could get out of this inning with 20 or thereabout in terms of pitch count through 2 innings. And we've been talking about the crowd here today in Statesboro. We have a lot of red shirts. A lot of those red shirts actually belong to his family. Right there at the bottom of your screen, that's all his family. The back of their shirts are all number 22. They all say Shunk. He's from Atlanta, so his whole family came down 3.5 hours away from Atlanta to Statesboro for this series. And that is family support.
Yeah, absolutely. Took the words right out of my mouth. Like the bottom 3 or 4 rows on that image you just saw a second ago were all Shunk jerseys. Unfortunately for them, he has not been able to produce as much as he would have liked to. 0 for 6 so far in this series with an error earlier in the game. And you should take a look at his family once again.
Although his first team preseason all SEC, I think he'll be able to sleep at night. Third team All-American last year. If I were his family, I'd come watch him play too, just for the pure enjoyment of how well he plays.
And kind of how we were talking earlier, you never know which position you're going to get to watch him in. You're going to see him third base all day. You might see him hit a couple nice balls at the plate, and then you might even get to see him come in and close the game out.
I was going to say, if Georgia Southern is unable to score runs in the next couple of innings, as the recent couple of innings have showed us they are wont to do, we are probably going to see Shunk come in as the closer tonight for Georgia.
Hey, when it did, came in and closed out the game last night, so I'd imagine his arm is okay to go again today.
As LJ Talley swings for the fences, he wanted to put that one out on the highway in right field. This is one guy you do not want to see if you're Cole Whitney. LJ Talley is one of the hottest hitters in the SEC right now. 2 for 3 already today. But Whitney jumps ahead 0-2.
Couple of singles on the day, scored back in the second. after the RBI by Sullivan. But you see Whitney's not afraid of anyone, so he's taking it to him quickly into an 0-2 count.
That one just off the edge for ball one. Talley keeping up his absurd on-base percentage tonight. Entered the game hitting .538 on base, and 2 for 3 today helps that. And he stays alive, 1-2. As the dangerous Mason Meadows, the catcher, waits on deck. Already hit a solo homer today. Runner takes off. That one's in the dirt. Up to second base goes Shunk. And all of a sudden, I'd say Whitney has to think a little bit more about this at bat now. Holden with a man on second.
Like you said, best hitter so far in the series for Georgia at the plate. Now a runner on second. You definitely want to keep it 3-1 here, so try to see Whitney retire him here with one pitch and keeping that bat at bay.
I would say if Georgia gets one, especially 2 more runs across, you might want to pull Whitney and just save him for the second game. But we will see. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, and a man on second. Talley cracks one to right. Searcy on the run. He's not going to get there. And it's going to be a stand-up RBI double for LJ Talley. And the Bulldogs jump ahead 4-1.
There you see it. Talley gets a hold down one. A little left over the middle plate, on just a little bit on the outside half, and he gets all of it and drives it to the right center, off the right center wall, and now it's a 4-1 lead.
And the former Savannah Banana now 3 for 4 with an RBI on the day. He's voted preseason second team all SEC. If he hits like this, Holden, he's going to jump to first team by the end of the year.
When he said the start he's off to right now, I see no reason for him to not be first team, but it's a long season. He's going to have to keep that up.
First pitch in there for a strike to the catcher, Mason Meadows. Like we said, got to be careful about him. Walked in a strikeout, but also a solo home run earlier today. And Whitney tried to bait him, and it's 1-1. Foul ball. Nobody up and throwing for what it's worth as that one screamed into the Eagle bullpen. Signals to me that unless he all of a sudden gives up a 2-run homer or something here, Holden, they want him to go a little longer.
He's like you said, that pitch count still only at 31.
And it gets out of the inning, but not before he allows a run. Aaron Shunk scored on the LJ Talley RBI double. And as we hit stretch time, it's 4-1 Georgia, with 2-3-4 due up next for Georgia Southern. On to the 8th here in Statesboro. The Georgia Bulldogs ranked number 13 in the most recent ESPN poll. On top of Georgia Southern 4-1. And the disappointment and head shaking down on the concourse continues, Holding Gladys. As Cole Whitney retakes the hill for the Eagles as we head to the 8th. The Bulldogs have stranded, or rather the Eagles have stranded 11 runners in 7 innings.
I mean, that's not a, I'm just going to take a guess here, but that's not a formula for success for Georgia Southern moving forward, and they're going to have to change that.
Hitting for the Bulldogs, number 42, John Cable.
And at this point in the game, it looks like the Bulldogs will be making a move. They'll be replacing the DH Connor Tate with John Cable. First one in from a strike from Whitney. Cable's a graduate transfer from Roswell, came over from the University of New Orleans after finishing his time there because playing for the Dogs had always been a lifelong dream for him.
Good for him to completing one of his dreams, getting to play for his dream school.
That's a cool
Yeah,
graduate transfer story. I mean, I think so often in college football and basketball, we've gotten jaded about the concept of grad transfers. But the fact that he chose to use his grad year, fulfilling a dream after finishing his undergrad at New Orleans, I think that's awesome.
That is really cool. And especially, like you said, especially in basketball now, where you got the one and done is such a big thing, and that you forget that, you know, there are still guys that play for 4 or 5 years, you know, have excellent careers at some of these schools. It is a cool story to hear once in a while about a guy getting to play for his dream school.
That one popped high, foul. Anderson on the run, and that one's going to stay in the seats. That just missed the head of a fan.
Oh,
She
yeah.
is lucky.
That was inches away.
So this inning, we'll see Cable, and then unless we see a couple more pinch hits, we'll see Patrick Sullivan and Randon Jernigan. Foul back will stay 3-2. And Sullivan is on deck. And I'll tell you, when you look at the line score, the Blue Monster out there in right field, it doesn't feel accurate or representative of what we have seen today. 4 runs, 7 hits, an error for the Bulldogs. 1 run, 4 hits, no errors for the Eagles. The game has felt so much closer than that, although I'll say the last few innings, it has also felt so far away. And he got him.
Like you said, Greg, pitching has been pretty good so far from both teams. You know, the couple runs gave up in the second has really been the only big outburst in an inning where we've seen more than 1 run scored.
First baseman Patrick Sullivan.
But these pitchers have done a good job of keeping the opposing hitters at bay when they get runners on.
And here comes Patrick Sullivan. RBI ground out, double, walk. He has reached every time he's come to the plate today. Cole Whitney would like to change that. Though he hasn't faced him yet, he actually came in to face the man who's up next out of the bullpen. That was the true freshman Randon Jernigan, who drew a walk. That's 2 balls and no strikes. All right, Holden, I know you're about the biggest Cole Whitney fan in the world. How do you think he's looking so far?
I think he's looked good. It's pretty on par with what you expect as he gets a ground ball over to Evans at third. He's a guy that likes to pitch contact but can get a good strikeout once in a while. He's got a guy looking here too. And he's done his job, and that's which Coach Rodney Hennon wanted him to come in and do. And I know he gave up the run, but he's done a good job of keeping Georgia at bay and at least keeping Georgia Southern in the game score-wise.
Pretty quick 2 up and 2 down here as we go to the 8-hitter, Randon Jernigan, the Brunswick boy. Started off with a RBI single, since then a strikeout and a walk, but he's made an impact in this game, and that's really cool. I mean, obviously, local kids from around here, it's positive whether they're playing for the Eagles or the Bulldogs. And the Bulldog is now behind 0-2. Whitney trying to escape the inning. Nearly able to do it against the freshman. Oh, that was strike 3, actually. It's to the backstop. And although he struck out, Jernigan does get to first base. So all of a sudden, another chance for the Bulldogs to possibly extend this lead. And on to the bottom of the order we go for C.J. Smith. Randon, a really fast guy at first base. Stolen once today. Won't get a chance to steal here, though. That's a shot into left. Martin in, makes the catch and sends us on to the bottom of the 8th. 6 outs to go for the Georgia Bulldogs to set him down. Eagles 6 outs to try and get back in this thing.